Hello, hello, hello again. I am Dr. Wilhelmina, and I'm here to bring you another topic. And this week, I am going to be talking about handling employees who refuse to do their job requirements. So, this is a subject near and dear to my heart. I've had this in the past, been a supervisor for a long time. So sometimes while I was working on active duty, military, or even as a civilian. Now, the one good thing about the military is that you have the UCMJ, which is um, the document, the legal document used for um, service members having infractions against the military law. So they're numbered and all that, and you can use that. It's kind of a leverage. No one wants to go to jail, get an Article 15, or have to do extra duty or anything like that. So um, that's a good leverage for when you have situations where uh, service members refuse to do their job or derelict in their duties or whatever. And that's a good thing. That's helpful. But when working with civilian employees, it's a little different. And actually, I talked about some of this in my dissertation. I'm just remembering that right now. But so I'm going to give you some tips. These are the steps you can take if you have that situation and you're working with civilian folks. Regardless, you need to have a balanced approach that combines clear communication, documentation, and it needs to be a fair process. Here are some of the steps. So, the first thing you want to do is understand the root cause. That's common sense, right? You need to understand why they refuse to do their job. Talk with the employee to understand why they are refusing to do their job. There might be an underlying issue that you don't know about. It might be a lack of resources, it could be unclear instructions, it could be personal issues, it could be illness, personal issues at the home. Maybe you need to offer them some employee assistance program to get some help for whatever they're dealing with. Or maybe, they once they tell you, you can kind of deal with the situation. They might be dissatisfied with their job. Now that's probably likely, but that could be part of the issue too. But you can help them to make choices that will help them in this dissatisfaction also. But you got to know, and they got to be open with you. Listen to them, right? While you're listening to them, be empathetic, active, use your active listening skills. So you're kind of repeating back to them what they said so they know that you're understanding, nodding your head, having that eye contact, letting them know you're actually listening, that you're concerned. Sometimes employees might have legitimate reasons that need to be addressed. So that's the first step. You don't go in guns a blazing, you know, all hard or anything. You want to find out what's going on. So the next step is having clear communication. So you want to set expectations, ensure that the job expectations and responsibilities are clearly communicated and understood by the employees. Provide feedback. Give specific examples of how the employee is not meeting those expectations and explain the impact to the team or the organization. So, for instance, they might have a behavior that they display that gets in the way of others communicating with them, or communication is big. If you're not hearing from them, they're not replying to your messages, they're not speaking up when you're talking with them, but you know there's still an issue that exists. Just, try to get to that, whatever it is. Ask the questions. Number three, offer support and training. Now, this is important. Sometimes their issue is in resources. Might be that they're not trained in an area that you're expecting them to perform. They were hired to perform and they've not done it or aren't doing it now because of some resource they need, and that would be training or support. So you offer them that, what they need. Training, offer additional training if the refusal is due to a lack of skill or understanding. That's important. Give them that training. You might not have to do it yet. Might have to bring someone in to do it. Number 4, document everything. Because when it comes down to it, whatever actions you have to take, may have to take, it may not have to take. You want to have it all documented to show that you were fair, you provided the resources, you were supporting them, um, that you had communication with them and meetings and actions that you took regarding the employee's refusal to work. This documentation will be important if further discipline actions are needed or required. And if you've worked in the government, you've always heard document, 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 because if you don't document, it didn't happen. So you have to do it. We use that a lot in medical care. If you don't document it, it didn't happen. Set clear consequences. So the policy, let them know the policy. Refer to the company's policies and procedures regarding refusal to work and communicate the potential consequences or continued refusal. So if they still refuse to do their job, they got to know, which common sense tells them, but they still got to know that there are consequences for refusing to work. Verbal warnings. Start with a verbal warning if appropriate, clearly stating the refusal to work is unacceptable or whatever the action is. Um, Maybe there are other actions that happen in the workplace that common sense, you can't do that, but you still, as a supervisor, have to communicate that this is not acceptable and that they know that there will be some consequences if it happens in the future. And the hard part, for me, it's the hard part because I'm soft sometimes, tender. Follow through with disciplinary actions. Now, I don't want to discipline anybody, but you have to, because not only is the behavior that they're displaying or refusing to do work, it's affecting the organization, the office. Not only is that, but other people that work with them might think. Now, this is something I can remember back when I was active duty, that I had an issue with some folks not working, sitting back, reading their book with their feet up, playing on the internet. And I was new to the organization. And I walked in one day to this and I was like, oh no, oh no. So I had put a stop to it, but I wasn't always in the room. So when I wasn't there, it was happening because the peers weren't telling on each other. But I finally had one of them that was the most junior, and he was the one I worked so hard with because he was so good at what he did, even though he was new. And he asked me, why should I keep working like this when they're not doing anything? And it's common sense, but I wasn't there. I didn't know they weren't doing it. I couldn't see the results because we had a lady that worked at the front desk that was taking care of everything. So she was kind and she did that, but it wasn't her job to do all that. So anyway, back to the subject. So we talked about clear expectations, follow through with the disciplinary actions. So give them written warning. If the behavior continues, the issue is written warning outlining the specific issues, um, previous discussions, and consequences of continued refusal. Also, you can put them on a performance improvement plan. It considers we consider implementing the performance improvement plan, the PIP, with clear goals and timelines for improvement. I'm good about giving some timelines even before we get that. I need this by then, because otherwise people get wrapped up into whatever they're doing and may not know how serious it is that I get this information. So I'll put a timeline even before this, and then you missed your timeline. So this is what happened. So anyway, um, termination. That's another hard one because nobody wants to stop anybody from getting their coins. No one wants to hurt someone in a way where they can't take care of their family. And so for me, termination is always hard. But if all other steps fail, the employee continues to refuse to do their job, or follow the company's, well, we will follow the company's termination procedures. Ensure that all actions are compliant with labor laws and company policies. You want to make sure because you don't want to get sued. um, Legal and HR involvement. So this next step, consult your HR. They always know what's best to do and how to do it, and what's normal and what's legal for our organization. So involve HR department early in the process to ensure that all actions are compliant with legal requirements and company policies. Seek legal advice if you need to. If necessary, seek legal advice to avoid potential legal repercussions. Step 8, reflect and improve. Review. After resolving the issue, review the situation to identify any systematic issues that might have contributed to the problem. Improve processes. Implement any necessary changes to prevent similar issues in the future. So, by following these steps that I've given you today, you can address the issue of the employees refusing to work in a fair and structured manner, ultimately aiming to resolve the situation positively while maintaining a productive work environment. So I really want to go back to the reflect and improve, reviewing the situation. Okay, what could I have done differently so that the next time you face that problem, you know that you're doing things fair, appropriate, legal, and you can have a little less heartburn or heartache with it. So, if this information helped you, you think it's going to help someone else, share it. And also share the podcast. Also, invite others to subscribe to the podcast or to subscribe to the YouTube, my YouTube, where I have a lot of information there. So, I am Dr. Wilhelmina. I brought you information on working with employees that don't want to do their job or won't do their job, and I had fun doing it. Thanks for listening.